You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Right now at 7, Fort Scott firefighters have new life-saving equipment thanks to a donation from a local business. Also, the jury has reached a verdict in the murder trial of a McDonald County woman.
And it's a pretty clear day today, but it's going to get hot and muggy, plus severe weather threat in the forecast.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney. 7 o'clock on this Friday morning. It's finally Friday.
Yes, finally Friday. Always welcome here in the 4 states. I know it's going to be, there's going to be some showers, some thunderstorms. We'll talk about that later. You'll talk about that later. But firefighters in Fort Scott will be using new equipment thanks to a donation by a local business.
And KOAM's Anthony Saviello has more.
We're very fortunate that we had a business owner that wanted to donate some equipment, especially equipment like this. To have a piece of equipment that is readily available and accessible right at your fingertips for rescue situations is invaluable.
A new piece of rescue equipment known as the victim drag strap.
How he gets his hand all the way through, right? What that does is that takes out the need to physically grasp something.
Is now going to be utilized by the Fort Scott Fire Department.
The number of personnel that we have that arrive on scene versus a bigger department, any tools that we can use to make that rescue easier or with less people, we definitely use those tools.
The strap is designed to make the carrying of a victim of a fire or a fellow firefighter easier.
This was designed to be easy to install in your coat with no modifications, easy to deploy, and easy to stow. So once we deploy it, we just pull it out of our coat, use it, pull the victim outside, stretch our arms back out, it goes back into the coat, it goes to the stowed position. Now we're ready to go back to work.
John Horn is the owner of Typhoon Bay Car Wash and bought this equipment for the fire department.
So we thought this is going to be something that we can do to help our community. And so we donated those straps, and today they're getting trained on how to use them, and it's something I hope they don't ever have to use, but if the need comes, that they'll be prepared.
And because of John's donation, the department can be. Reporting in Fort Scott, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Well, each strap is priced $165. The Fort Scott Fire Department now has 20 of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. That's expensive. That's really, it was donated, right?
A lot of equipment and a lot of lives that they can help save.
Yes, definitely. That is awesome. Well, we've got some severe weather in the forecast that we just talked about. That's not coming in until later on this evening. So until then, it's going to be mostly clear today, but hot. You can see nice little sunrise out in 7th and Rangeline and clear skies, but temperatures warming up to the upper 90s and even reaching triple digits in some areas. But until then, temperatures right now in the low 70s. So we're still starting off pretty cool, but muggy. It's going to be hot, humid all day long. We've got those heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, but still the rest of us are seeing heat index values getting up to about 103 across the area. Going to be a little bit warmer in those southern counties, so they do have that heat advisory, but don't rule it out for the rest of us. It's still going to be really hot. Don't underestimate the heat. It can be, the silent killer of the summer. We've got clouds moving out of the area, so we're going to have a pretty clear day today, but we have another severe threat like we had last night, a level 2 out of 5, so a slight risk, mostly just for our southwest counties, Chanute, Pittsburgh, Joplin, Monette, and South, getting that severe threat. Now, main threats are going to be 1-inch hail, 60 miles per hour wind gusts starting around 8 p.m., but I'll have more details coming up.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, the verdict is in. Jurors in McDonald County, Missouri late yesterday have found Dawn Wynn guilty in the shooting death of her husband. Dawn Wynn is convicted on both counts, first-degree murder and armed criminal action for the November 2021 murder of her husband, Harold Wynn. The defense yesterday called witnesses who included detectives and law enforcement officers involved in the case. The defense argued that the initial investigation of the scene included a series of missteps and said there were no fingerprints on the murder weapon. Dawn Nguyen declined the opportunity to testify in her defense, and you'll find more details on the case on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. The Salvation Army of Jasper Newton counties got in on the back to school fun yesterday. The day-long bash provided dinner and snacks as well as Nerf and gel blasters, video and board games, and a ton of indoor and outdoor activities. It's fun for all of the kids. One organizer said the goal for the day was to have fun and make new friends.
God is always around, and even when times are tough or it's really hot outside, we can still have fun and enjoy life with our neighbors and friends. And you can always make plenty of friends. Just give people a chance.
The bash was open to the public, and people who attended were encouraged to give a non-perishable item to donate to the Salvation Army Food Pantry. Well, Joplin Fire Station number 4 hosted a wet down ceremony, and the public and city officials turned out for the ceremony, which was the second one in successive weeks. Kids also helped the firefighters get the new engine bright and shiny before pushing it into the bay. The tradition of wetting down a new fire vehicle goes all the way back to the 1800s. And those are our top stories this half hour. Coming up next, Ukrainian forces continue to push further into Russian territory. We'll have the details. We'll be right back, but before we head to break, here's a live look from the Jesse James Days in Pineville, Missouri. Topping World Watch. North Korea is saying welcome to some tourists again. Tourist operators say at least some partial international tourism will resume after nearly 5 years of suspension. Chinese-based tourism agencies began announcing tourism groups to North Korea on Wednesday. The tour operator says tourism will resume in the northeastern city of Sumjeon in December. North Korea has struggled to open up to business, travel, or non-diplomatic activity since the global pandemic. An earthquake rocks Taiwan Thursday, the 6.3 magnitude quake striking off the country of Yilan, shaking buildings in the nation's capital of Taipei. The earthquake was said to have been felt up to 5 miles from its epicenter. No immediate reports of damage or casualties was reported. The quake comes just 4 months after Taiwan was hit with its biggest earthquake in a quarter of a century, which killed 9 people and injured more than 900. The Ukrainian troops scored a major victory as they marched deeper into Russian territory. Fox News' Greg Palkett has more from London.
Ukrainian troops are advancing farther into Russia despite meeting heavier resistance as their surprise assault continues. It's the first foreign invasion of Russia since World War II, and it's rattling Moscow, whose forces haven't been able to stop the offensive. And now Ukraine has won a key strategic victory, capturing the town of Sudzha, putting them within striking distance of Kursk, a major regional city with more than 500,000 people.
We have a new advance. A Ukrainian military commandant's office is being established there. I thank each one of our warriors who ensures all this. Well done.
The Russians are sending more reinforcements, but so far it's not enough. More than 120,000 civilians have evacuated. And on Thursday, officials declared a state of emergency in the Belgorod region, a likely next target for Ukrainian forces.
The situation in the region remains difficult and tense as a result of terrorist attacks by Ukrainian armed forces. There are killed and injured citizens.
But it will be difficult for Ukraine to keep fighting with this intensity if more help from the West doesn't arrive soon. American weapons are thought to be making a big difference in this offensive, and the White House says they'll keep the aid flowing.
This is an administration that has been very focused on making sure that Ukrainians continue to have what they need to beat back against Russia's aggression.
Ukrainian officials say they've taken almost 400 square miles of Russian territory so far, but have no plans for a permanent occupation. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
And those are our top stories from around the world. Now here's Lindsay with a quick look at your forecast.
Well, it's starting off this Friday morning. Clear skies, a gorgeous little sunrise, but we're warming up to the upper 90s with heat indices in the lower hundreds. So it's still going to be pretty hot, pretty muggy as well. But we've also got a severe threat of storms later on this evening, which are going to bring in a cold front, dropping temperatures for the weekend. So it's looking pretty good. Now, coming up, we'll learn how a beekeeping program helps connect those with disabilities with the outdoors. Well, it's looking pretty nice out there, downtown Joplin, clear skies, a nice little sunrise and a light breeze as well. Unfortunately, we warm right back up to the upper 90s and heat index values in the low hundreds. So we've got still a couple of heat advisories through this evening for Northeast Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas. The rest of us are still going to be pretty hot, pretty muggy today. So still high 90s and low triple-digit heat indices. However, not high enough to issue any type of heat advisory. Now, clouds are starting to clear out following the rain we had this morning and late last night. So we're going to have a mostly sunny day all day today. Temperatures by noon warming up to upper 80s and getting up to the upper 90s for our highs for the day. Then we see another threat for severe weather later on this evening. You can see starting around 9 p.m. up to 11 p.m. starting to rise, those rain chances really starting to kick off overnight, especially up to about 80% chance of rain. So we are seeing a strong storms later on this evening and overnight, even lasting all the way until early in the morning, possibly up to 7, 8 a.m. Now, low threat for tornadoes, but hail and winds, elevated risk for storms. As you can see where those little black lines are on the hail, that's a hatch zone. We're seeing a significant development of hail in that area. So our far western counties, and like I said, elevated risk for hail and winds. Hail about 1 inch and winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. So we start to see a few of those storms pushing in around 8:30 p.m. You can see Yates Center, Nevada, Fort Scott, all of our northern counties getting that rain, and then it shifts down south, Joplin, Pittsburgh, Parsons, and even getting into Miami all the way by 10:30. So it's a bit of a slower moving frontal boundary that's pushing in. This is the boundary where those storms are lining up. But following the boundary, still a couple of clusters of thunderstorms are developing as well. So we're going to see mostly scattered storms behind the frontal boundary that moves in. And it is a cold front, so we are seeing a drop in temperatures for the weekend. And you can see still by 1:30, widespread rain, but isolated storms that could be strong to low and severe. Those are going to continue to push in until about 4:30, and then we start to see where they're tapering off but shifting south. Joplin, Pittsburgh, Parsons, Chanute still getting some of those heavier rain showers and thunderstorms by early in the morning, 7:30, 8 a.m. And then it's going to continue to shift southwest Missouri and into Arkansas, clearing completely out of our area by about 10 a.m. Then our high on Saturday only getting up to about 92, 93 across the region, plus another chance for possible severe storms on Saturday. Now in our area, we're mostly seeing a couple isolated storms, maybe getting into thunderstorm territory, but The main threat is going to be east of us, so we're looking pretty good for the rest of the weekend. Again, isolated storms Saturday night and Sunday night, but temperatures drop down to about average and a little bit below for the early half of the week. And then we start to see a nice stretch of sunny skies and warmer temperatures. Well, we'll be back with more news after this.
A program in Minnesota is helping those with disabilities get into the world of beekeeping.
Susan Elizabeth Littlefield shares how the program is growing.
When Gwen Letourneau shows up for duty, she knows what to do.
You got it?
Yep, I got it. Thank you, Gwen.
There's no queen.
There's no, you don't see it?
No.
She's one of a knowledgeable group who keeps these bees in line.
We shake the powder.
Okay.
To see if and then we feed the bees. Because if we don't do that, the bees will get mad.
Is it scary?
A little bit. You just can't freak them out.
And around here, a little fear can be a good thing.
It's important to have activities that are considered dignity of risk activities for folks.
MSS is a day program for people with disabilities. The director says doing things that could be risky comes with great reward.
I've seen people's lives affected by this because they get a sense of ownership and a sense of purpose and a sense of just joy, like I can do this. This is something that I can do.
And they can. From the paths to the uniforms, MSS made beekeeping accessible.
Not only unique, this program is historic. It was the first of its kind in the entire country.
They now have a garden full of pollinators. And another benefit,
we get honey.
It's the sweetest of endeavors.
Well, save the bees. I love it. I love,
Yes, honey's great. And it's great to see that, people with developmental and intellectual disabilities, they have interests too. And it's great to see that people are really harnessing that and, giving them something to work towards and work with each other. And so it's great to see.
That is really amazing.
Well, coming up, a look at how artificial intelligence is leading to disinformation during this year's election.
And we've also got storms in the forecast tonight, possibly even in the morning. Now we'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:27. I'm Elise Noe. This week, Pitt State students are moving in and preparing to kick off the new school year. The start of the school year brings an influx of students, which benefits local businesses. The director of community sales at Ron's Supermarket looks forward to when students come back because it brings new life to the town and local businesses.
I love it when the students are back because it revitalizes town every year and gives us a little bit of a new life every year.
Local stores like Ron's offer discounts to Pitt State students that show their student ID, which is a big help for college students living on limited funds. And yesterday was also move-in day for students at Missouri Southern. There were a number of activities on campus to welcome new students, including a pep rally, convocation, and a campus craze. Officials say the residence halls on campus are at 99% capacity.
We weren't expecting rain, especially where I live. We had no idea. It was like super hot when we left, and so when we got here that was a little bit unexpected, but other than that it's been super smooth. The students here have been super helpful so far. I've met my roommates and they seem great. I was able to get into my room, find it. All is well so far.
Well, classes at Missouri Southern begin on Monday. And residents in Columbus, Kansas know when students are headed back to school. And not based on the students entering the school, but the foam exiting the city's fountain. Columbus High School seniors kicked off the school year with the annual foam prank. The yearly prank is a way to launch the new school year with some good, clean fun. Now let's check in with Lindsay for a look at the forecast.
Well, it's looking pretty good out there. 7th and Range Line still have a nice little sunrise and completely clear skies. It's It's going to stay like that for most of the day. Temperatures are in the lower 70s, so we're cooling down a little bit before we start to warm right back up across the region. We do have still a couple of heat advisories in effect for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. Heat index values getting up to the triple digits, up to about 105 in those areas, but still the rest of us are still seeing high temperatures in the upper 90s and heat index values still reaching 103 as a maximum in those areas. Not quite high enough for a heat advisory, but still take precautions. It's still going to be pretty hot, pretty muggy outside all day long. Now, clouds have cleared out of here following the storms that we saw earlier this morning and late last night. We're looking pretty good. We've got mostly clear skies all day today. Again, warmer temperatures. And then later on this evening, we've got a slight risk for severe weather, level 2 out of 5 risk. And you can see Chanute, Pittsburgh, Joplin, Monette, and Southwest is where we're seeing the potential for severe weather through the evening. Now, we've got a couple of threats with those, but I'll talk more about that coming up.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Artificial intelligence, also known as AI, has skyrocketed in popularity in recent years. Researchers say the growing technology can be used for both good and bad, especially during election season. KOAM's Samantha Walker sat down with AI and political science researchers at Missouri Southern State University to find out what voters need to know about what they might see and hear.
Artificial intelligence has been around for decades, but with the rise of programs like ChatGPT, the technology has never been more visible or accessible.
The exact impacts it will have will change over time as the technology develops, because it hasn't been around long enough for it to be common among sort of lay users, but it's so accessible now.
And with a growing increase in AI usage, researchers are aware it could impact this election season.
As far as the election goes, it's undeniably very useful. I use it every day, a lot every day. However, the deceptiveness of it can also be very hindering to our society. And what's happening now in the elections is people are using it for good and bad, as they use any tool.
Researchers say in recent months, AI has been used to mimic Joe Biden in robocalls, create false videos of presidential candidates, and develop false crowd-sized photos at campaign rallies. For political science professors like Nicole Foster-Schoaf, the misuse of AI can make election season even more confusing.
Voters have a hard enough time trying to figure out the information that they need for local, state, and national elections when the information is accurate. And now we're asking folks to have to decipher what is real and what is not.
But for AI researchers like Diana Fordham, AI doesn't have to only be a tool for bad actors. She says it can also be something you use to help get election information more easily.
I wanted to research J.D. Vance or Tim Walz. I can put it into AI and I can ask them specific questions to help my research on the candidate. And it will spit out in 3 seconds information that I can then follow up on other areas that I need to research on that particular candidate. So those are the good things. It's right at our fingertips.
Researchers say it's important that you know about AI and have some tools to be able to recognize it, because it's not going away anytime soon.
This is really the first election where it's easy and cheap to access, and people without a lot of technical skills can use AI to create videos and audio. And so I think it's going to be around a while, and it's only likely to become a bigger problem.
Both Fordham and Schoaf recommend fact-checking anything you see online with multiple trusted news sources to make sure the information you're seeing is accurate this election season. Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
AI researchers say there are some ways you can help identify if the technology is being used in an image, video, or audio. They recommend looking at small details of images and videos where AI still commonly warps. In audio, they say you should listen to the vocal inflections, as oftentimes audio will sound robotic if you're listening closely. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Shannon Becker will be with us in the studio to share his big 3 news stories of the week. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from the Jesse James Days in Pineville, Missouri. Welcome back. We've got Shannon Becker in the studio with his big 3 news stories of the week. Good morning to you, Shannon. Happy Friday as always.
Well, you as well. You look fantastic as always.
Thank you. So kind.
Let's take a look at our big 3 stories of the week. This week, number 3, well, it was a paradise for some people. Copper wire. You know, that's pretty popular nowadays, I hear.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
A whole semi-tractor trailer full of copper wire overturned. It was all over the grass beside the highway. I just imagine like people, you know, rushing out of the trees to come and get,
Yes.
but no, it was
Don't
clean.
need to go to Home Depot anymore.
Nope, not at all. So no one was arrested either. The driver was all right. It happened in Joplin in the middle of the night yesterday morning. They took a while to clean that up. It was kind of an awkward position as the whole box had broken open. Once again, nobody was injured, but it did cause traffic delays on Thursday morning. Number 2 story, KOAM News Now, Joplin News First, what's live and local happening where you live. The last 3 days we've spent in the murder trial of Dawn Wynn. Yesterday afternoon, after 5 hours of deliberation, it came back the verdict. Guilty on both counts, first-degree murder and also armed criminal action. If you remember, it was November of 2021 when Dawn shot her husband, now convicted of shooting her husband in a fifth-wheel camper just outside of Anderson, Missouri. She was actually on the run. She absconded for about 6 months, ran off to Indiana. She had left a suicide note where she had some bond conditions. She was staying in a residence, and then she disappeared. So, you know, that's always a bad sign of your guilt if you go off to start a new life. Yeah, of course. So that was all presented at the trial as well. More details on that case on our website, KOM News Now. And then our number 1 story of the week down in McDonald County. A teenage boy drowned on the Elk River right there off downtown in Knoll. Well, we were there, and Freeman Ambulance, here's what happened. Bystanders heard people yelling for help, went down, got the boy out of the water, no pulse, not breathing, life-saving measures, didn't know how long he'd been underwater. Found out more details yesterday to update the story. He is responding. He flew him to a Springfield hospital. He's in ICU stable, but responding to commands. So that is amazing. That is amazing. They're estimating he could have been underwater for 3 to 4 minutes. But the people that came to help were just some random people. Also, there was an off-duty Anderson police officer, and this was in Knoll.
Some good Samaritans,
Yeah. So, and then McDonald County Sheriff's Office, Knoll Marshals. It was a group effort. It was really, it's a really amazing story.
Wow.
I mean, he's 15 years old. And then our bonus story of the week. A lot of people have been telling me, oh my gosh, that Missouri State Highway Patrol helicopter is back. No, it's not. All right. This is actually some amazing video my friend Steve took. This is Liberty Utilities.
Okay.
They fly along the lines every year about this time.
Interesting.
They use infrared cameras, and then they also check the vegetation to see what needs to be cleaned up. It saves a ton of time instead of driving along all these lines. So they just boop, 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 do it all. They fly all over the country, of course, at all the different Liberty locations. But if you see this helicopter, just look for the letters and numbers on the side of it. That is the identifier. And in fact, Steve waved at them and they waved back. So, you know, Highway Patrol, they don't fly that low, by the way. You know, they're very, very low.
Very
just
interesting.
above
Didn't
those
know
lines.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's interesting. Take a look on our website. You'll have to follow me sometime. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's KOAM News Now, Joplin News First, live and local.
Wonderful. Well, as always, Shannon, thank you for being with us this morning. Happy to have you as always. Stick around. We're back with more right after this.
Well, it's looking pretty good out there. Downtown Joplin, clear skies and a nice sunrise. Now, it is going to get pretty warm today, so we've got heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, but still, all of us are getting up into the upper 90s for actual temperatures and even reaching low hundreds for the heat indices for the day. Now, all the areas with the heat advisory getting up to about 105, maybe a little higher, and then the areas that are not under a heat advisory, still heat index getting up to about 103. So still pretty hot, still muggy, unfortunately. Clouds have cleared out, so it's at least going to be really sunny today, clear skies. Now, we've also got temperatures warming up by noon to the upper 80s, possibly even reaching 90s in some areas. Temperatures getting up to about 96, 97 out in Joplin and surrounding counties. And then we've also got a severe weather threat later on this evening. So you can start to see by 8 p.m., 9 p.m., we're starting to see those rain chances rise up to by midnight, and even after midnight up to about 80% chance of rain. So we are seeing those storms and severe weather threats all the way until early Saturday morning. So we've got a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe storms later on today and this evening. But main threat, we're not looking at a tornado threat. We are seeing hail and winds have an elevated threat. And you can see where the little black lines are on the hail chart. That's a significant risk. So it's a hatch zone. We're seeing a significant chance for hail to develop in those areas. And hail about an inch, maybe even up to an inch and a half. And then winds gusting up to 60, 65 miles per hour. So we'll go ahead and look at that future track and start to see by 8:30 a few storms starting to push into our northern counties, Nevada, Fort Scott, Yates Center. This is about, like I said, 8:30, maybe even 9. They're going to slow moving, so they finally make it down to our central counties, southeastern Kansas, and all the way down to about Joplin, Pittsburgh, even pushing Miami about 10:30, 11 p.m. So we do have a line of storms right along the boundary, and then behind that boundary, a few more clusters of thunderstorms starting to develop as well. So you can start to see where those storms push south, then we have scattered thunderstorms across the entire area. So this is after midnight now, about 1:30, 2 a.m. We're still seeing some pretty strong to low-end severe storms across the area. Now still 4:30 in the morning, storms are continuing to develop behind that frontal boundary, and Joplin's still getting some heavy rain. Pittsburgh, Parsons, Chanute, even up to Erie, those are going to continue to shift south. By 7:30 a.m., Joplin's still getting some heavy rain again. Pittsburgh, Parsons, Girard moving south and then completely clearing out of our area by about 10 a.m. High temperature on Saturday only getting up to about 92, 93. So we definitely see a drop in temperatures back down to average, and then it continues to drop to below average for the next weekend, or this upcoming weekend, and the early half of next week. A possible severe threat for Saturday night as well, but mostly that's going to be just east of us. We've got a couple chances of pop-up thunderstorms, but not a severe threat for the early half of the week. Then we start to rise back up to average and above average temperatures by next weekend. But that's a look at your forecast. Let's go over to Elise with Consumer Watch.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, realtors are about to be paid much differently across most of the country starting this weekend. Following a massive $418 million settlement with the National Association of Realtors, home buyers will now be required to sign agreements specifying how much their agents will be paid. Now buyers must negotiate commissions with agents directly before they can show a home at all. Roughly 1.5 million members of the NAR will be subject to these rules. A new federal rule cracks down on fake business online reviews. The FTC is banning companies from creating fake reviews, including one generated by AI. The new rule bans companies from bribing customers to write positive reviews, as well as undisclosed employee reviews and company-controlled feedback. The agency is also banning businesses from threatening people who write negative reviews and buying and selling followers online. The FTC says fake online reviews pollute the marketplace and potentially hurt business for competitors. Well, President Biden's administration says big savings are coming for consumers following a major deal with pharmaceutical companies. The White House says taxpayers will save about $6 billion after the administration made a deal to lower costs of Medicare's most expensive drugs. Now, taxpayers currently spend more than $50 billion a year on the top 10 costliest drugs, which include blood thinners and diabetes prescriptions. But it's still unclear how much cheaper the final prescription cost will be for consumers. And those are our top consumer stories. Now let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. Well, there's a new group of hobbyists visiting America's lakes and rivers in search of sunken treasure.
Michael George introduces us to magnet fishers.
2. At the side of the highway on a bridge over the Bronx River, James Kane is casting his line in the hopes of finding his fortune. He and his partner Barbie Agostini are magnet fishers.
Take a strong neodymium natural earth magnet, which you can find on Amazon, and you tie it to the end of a rope, and you literally throw it anywhere people can regular fish, and you'll be pulling out anything metallic.
Kane and Agostini started magnet fishing as a pandemic hobby, not knowing it would become a career. Their YouTube channel, Let's Get Magnetic, has more than 10,000 subscribers, waiting to see what sunken treasure they'll reel in next. They say they found more than a dozen guns, a grenade.
This is our second grenade we ever found.
And recently, they scored big.
Oh my God, there's a stack of money. There's a stack of money.
No way.
The pair made national headlines after finding a safe in Queens, New York.
This one had 2 giant stacks of $100 bills in it.
The cash, which they say is being verified by the Treasury Department, is estimated to be $50,000 to $80,000. But magnet fishers say a typical haul doesn't earn much money.
We find actually a lot of construction equipment like rebar, tools, bits of screws and everything. That's probably the most common.
So what keeps them coming back?
For me personally, it's the unknowingness of it. It's like a lottery ticket every time you throw the magnet in the water.
Angling for any big catch.
Look at that! History!
That will stick to a magnet.
Well, different states have different laws regarding magnet fishing fines.
Kane says all the guns they found were handed over to the police as required by the New York law.
Definitely interesting. I've never seen that before. I've never heard of it before, but I mean,
he found a safe. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we're gonna head out right now.
We're gonna leave.
Oh. All right, well, we've got a few storms rolling in later on tonight, starting around 8:30. They're continuing in to the Joplin area and south by about 10:30, 11. Those continue all the way through the overnight hours into early Saturday morning, and there is a slight risk for severe storms. That's a level 2 out of 5, so we're expecting wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour and hail up to 1 inch, maybe even 1.5 inches. So those storms continue all the way until about 7:30, 8 a.m., but finally moving out of our area by about 9 to 10 a.m. So we're going to have all night storms, and Doug Heddy will be in later on this evening to give you more details, but we'll have more after this.
And here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Well, the verdict is in. Dawn Wynn is convicted on both counts, first-degree murder and armed criminal action for the November 2021 murder of her husband, Harold Wynn. The defense argued that the initial investigation of the scene included a series of missteps and said there were no fingerprints on the murder weapon. Dawn Wynn declined the opportunity to testify in her defense. And thanks to the donation of a local business, first responders at the Fort Scott Fire Department will have some new equipment. It's called the Victim Drag Strap. The strap is meant to be worn by the firemen and make the job of rescuing a victim from an emergency situation easier. Well, Joplin Fire Station number 4 hosted a wet down ceremony, and the public and city officials turned out for the ceremony, which was the second one in successive weeks. The tradition of wetting down a new fire vehicle goes back to the 1800s.
We also have a slight risk for severe weather tonight starting around 8 p.m. Those storms continue well into the morning on Saturday, finally clearing out by about 7:30, 8 a.m., even leaving as late as 9 a.m. Severe threats include hail up to 1 inch and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Until then, we're going to have pretty high heat in the area, upper 90s and low triple digits.
So it looks like I'll just be waiting for the back half of next week to finally start enjoying the weather again.
Yes, it'll be sunny by then and, still getting warmer though. I'm just ready for the fall.
Yeah,
honestly.
We'll be here soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, a Florida police officer located an elderly woman with Alzheimer's who had been missing for over an hour with help from a tracking dog. Body cam footage released by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office shows the moment the officer and the canine found the woman, who police said was unharmed and walking barefoot on a roadway a short distance away.
The dog's tracking skills were crucial in locating the missing woman quickly, and everyone was relieved to see her return home safely.
Yeah, what an incredible rescue there by that little pup. I mean, dogs are so smart, and I know that they have the tracking devices, but just to see that dogs, canine officers and what they can do is always great to see. And
I eventually want to get a dog for myself, trained as a search and rescue. I think they're the most incredible animals ever.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.